What up? Coach Vassar, thank you for joining me with OTF Audio Daily Beats. As always, if you're new, appreciate you tuning in, listen to me talk about these workouts. Any feedback, criticisms, comments, concerns, let me know. Shoot me a DM. I'm more than happy to improve. If you find value in them, information is in the description to support me. Today we're going to break down Monday, June 2nd. This workout will also repeat later in the month on, I just looked at it and I already forgot, Thursday, June 19th. There we go. We're going to see a run row day on the 2G, endurance on the treads, power on the rower, strength on the weight floor, 3G, just regular setup there. Anyways, as always, we'll talk about the 2G first, the key concepts, some things to kind of pay attention to, and then go on out from there. All right, so for the run row portion, we're going to mix up endurance and power in today's run row. We start with the longest distance on the tread and the rower, and they get shorter throughout the block. Check out the tread card once you head to your treadmills to familiarize yourself with today's workout. On the floor, we have 4 blocks using the BOSU to build strength and stability, and we sprinkle in a little power in blocks 2 and 4. Obviously, you're gonna need BOSUs out. I would recommend putting up benches if you have them out, just so you have more floor space, because there's gonna be a lot of movement for the members. All right, a couple things. So this is a run row, so if you do have 2 groups of people, treads and on the rowers, as a courtesy, put wipes on the rowers so that way after their warm-up, they could wipe it down so that way the tread people have a clean rower to go to, and then send the rowers over to the weight floor and get them set up. Now, when we look at the treadmills, we're gonna see 23.5 minutes. In total, there's 4 rounds. The first round is the longest, and then they decrease over time. Now, the unique thing about this specific workout is for the treadmill, we want to progressively build the intensity on the tread, and then we want to increase row intensity each round. Now, it's been a very, very long time since they've done like a progressive build as it used to be on the template. Now they just kind of do that flow of base, push, all out. When I first started coaching, they used to do something like a 3-minute progressive build where every 30 seconds they add 0.1. Okay, we haven't done that in a long time, and I do kind of miss it, but this is very similar to that idea. So we're going to start with a 0.8 mile tread. Power walkers, they're going to start at 0.4, 1% or greater. Bikes and striders have their set distances. The goal for this is to start at a manageable endurance effort, so probably around their base or just above it. And then the member chooses how they want to build and when they want to build. So this could be time-based, it could be distance-based. Personally, what I would do if I were to take the class, I would go off of distances. So every 0.1 mile I complete, I'm gonna add some more speed. As a power walker, maybe every 0.05, I add incline and or speed. Okay, because what we want them to do is start kind of mostly in the green for like the first big chunk of it, and then the back half onwards of that long distance, it's uncomfortable. And they should get to that threshold of borderline uncomfortable to very uncomfortable by the end. So they don't need to take a true walk recovery. If anything, as soon as they finish that 0.8 or 0.4, they hit the stop key twice, they run down that belt, and then as soon as the belt stops, they're going right to the rower. They don't need to take a walk. They could go right to the rower and hit a 400-meter push row. That way the heart rate stays elevated during that row. It feels uncomfortable, and by the end, they are definitely breathless, maybe tapping into like that push all out. Then they could take a walk back up to their treadmills, recover, and then we move on to round 2. So that's kind of the flow of what they want to see with the daily beat today for this workout. So round 1, 0.8, 400 meters. Round 2, 0.6, 300 meters. 0.4, 200. And then the last round is 0.2 and 100. After that 100-meter row, they could choose to stay on the rower and row until the finisher, or they could go back to the treadmill and tread until the finisher. The biggest thing here is the tread section is all about that progressive build. So they might start about the same or maybe a little bit higher, or they could try to make the same jumps or bigger jumps. So definitely set members up for success with that information. For people on bikes and striders, probably the best goal here is, start around their base or like a base push gear, and then every distance metric that they want to kind of pay attention to, add a gear until they get to that very uncomfortable feeling without dropping those RPMs. Okay. Once again, the idea is for the heart rate to stay elevated when they're done with the treadmill as they go to the rower, and then they finish the row where they hit that anaerobic threshold feeling where they need to then rest before go to the next round. If they notice when they get to the treads and as soon as they start, they're already up high in that heart rate, encourage them to pull back, maybe start at base or below their base. Catch your breath, get that heart rate to kind of stabilize in that green mid-range, and then climb up. All right, now weight floor side. We're gonna see a total of 4 blocks. Blocks 1 and 3 are circuits. Blocks 2 and 4 are repeats, okay? So BOSU's for everything. In block 1 and block 3, the BOSU is going to be round side up, flat side down. We'll start off with a stability or a strong movement with the single arm step out squat, and then you have stability work where you're doing a kneeling tricep extension on the BOSU. So for that step out squat, dumbbell's gonna be on one side. Whichever side has the weight, that foot's gonna step out, but then the weight will go between the legs. We wanna try to keep the shoulders squared off, so a little bit more core engagement to prevent rotation as they lower down, and then as they step in, the weight goes back on the outside of the leg. They're gonna do 6 to 10 on one side, so definitely moderate to heavy weight, then do the other side. Then they go into their kneel-in tricep extension, same rep range, but because of the stability work, maybe a light to moderate weight would be a good choice for that one. They want arms extended, bicep by the ear. As they come down, encourage them to get that dumbbell to touch between the shoulder blades so they get that full range of motion through the elbow. If they stop about halfway, that does put a lot of stress on that elbow tendon. If they're not able to go overhead, another way to incorporate the BOSU is have shoulders on with a bridge hold and do like 2 lighter dumbbells and do like a tricep extension, like a skull crusher. That way they're still getting the tricep, but they're getting that stability work using their core while their shoulders are on the BOSU. Of course, with the daily beat, they mentioned they could just do it like the strap tricep extension or just from a standing position overhead tricep extension. So, but once again, if they're not able to go overhead, then we got to figure out a different way. I'll talk about block 2 in a second. Let's look at block 3 real quick. So this one, we're gonna have forward lunges. It's gonna be one side for 6 to 10 reps, and then the other side. For this one, obviously, reverse lunges would be a good option, or if there is the space, you could, remind members they could grab a bench and do single leg step ups. That way they still get the unilateral work rather than just doing more squats. Okay, and that's gonna be paired up with bicep curls from a kneeling position on the BOSU. So elbows are glued to their side, curl, back down. If they want more stability but keep using that BOSU, they could do a split stance where the back knee is on the BOSU and the front leg is in front of that BOSU, and that will still incorporate some stability, or instability, but it'll still be a lot more stable than with both knees on. Okay, with 7.5 minutes and 7 minutes and 15 seconds for the first block, there's plenty of time here to get 2, 3, 4 rounds in, especially since it's circuit style and we are kind of alternating between lower body and upper body. Now, block 2 and block 4. This is the same block repeated on the second time. It's about power, work, and rest. So the goal here is start with a higher rep count of 8 reps of the BOSU plank pop. And we want to encourage people to move quick and explosive. So by that 8th rep, they do need to stop and catch their breath. Okay, so rather than a slow grind, pop it out nice and fast, nice and quick. Heart rate spikes up. They're going to be breathy, breathless. They should rest. Then they go for 6, rest, 4, rest, 2, rest. And then if there's time left, they hit the low plank hip rock. And then they'll do that and rest as needed until time is called. Now the fourth block is a little bit different because what they'll do is they'll do those hip rocks until the 2 minute and 45 second mark, because for the final 30, they'll do a BOSU high plank jack with the bouncy side down and the flat side up, hands on top. That's a 2G. All right, when we look at the 3G, we're gonna see 2 blocks for the, 1 block for the tread, 1 block for the rower, 2 blocks for the weight floor. Treadmills, slightly different than the 2G compared for the 3G. Here the goal is to choose your own intensity and maintain it every round. And they're gonna have a time-based walk recovery. So they're gonna start with a 0.6 mile tread, power walkers 0.3, bikes and striders have their distances, followed by a only 45-second walk. For majority of people, that 45-second walk will probably be just enough for them to start to see their heart rate trend down. If they're like in orange red, they might tap into green. If they're on that, lower orange, high green, definitely low range green, maybe blue. But ideally, they're barely getting a true full recovery, and then they're right back to work. The main thing though, compared to the 2G where we progressively increased, the goal here is to set it and forget it, hold that one speed throughout, okay? Now, even though the distances get shorter, because of the minimal recovery, that fatigue is gonna work against them, and it's gonna feel very similar at that shorter distance, okay? They only have 3 rounds, 0.6, 0.4, 0.2. After that last 0.2 and a 45-second walk, then they will tread until a 30-second finisher. Now for the rower, we're gonna see a Y-bell / med ball exercise paired up with a longer distance row build, okay? The Y-bell and the med ball exercise will be the same for the first 3 rounds, and then they'll repeat everything with a different med ball exercise. So the first one is gonna be a single leg angled press. So as they balance on one leg and then the med ball's at the chest, they're gonna press the med ball upward at a 45. So not straight out, slightly up. It's also straight out in front, okay? 8 reps per leg, and then the first build is a 400-meter row. They start at base for the first 200, and then 200 all out. Writing this on the whiteboard, I would encourage you to remind them to use the 400 stored program. So from 400 down to the 200-meter mark, base effort, and then 199 down to 0, all out. They should need to rest, and then they'll repeat that with a 300 and then a 200 build. So 200 base, 200 all out, 150 base, 150 all out, 100 base, 100 all out. Once they finish those 3 rounds, they'll do it all again, but now we're gonna do a med ball or Y-bell squat to alternate in halo. So the med ball starts here, they'll squat down, stand up, halo, there's 1, the next rep, squat down, and then there's 2. And then same thing, 400, 300, 200. When they finish all 6 rounds of work, then they will row until the finisher. Now for the weight floor side, slightly different. We are gonna see one longer block where we combine blocks 1 and 3. So we'll have the step out squat, tricep extension, forward lunge, bicep curl. So a nice little circuit of lower body, upper body, lower body, upper body. Lower body is all strength work, no BOSU incorporated. Upper body, a little bit of stabilization to go lighter as they use the BOSU. And the goal here is just to repeat for 10 minutes. And then they'll have 3.5 minutes to do the work and rest plank pop situation from the 2G. Same thing though, like block 4, 8, 6, 4, 2, rest after each set. If they finish, then they do hip rocks until the high plank jack. And there we have it. Monday, June 2nd, which will repeat on the 19th. As always, any feedback, please let me know. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to discuss, talk more into detail, one-on-one. Other than that, that's all I got. Coach you down.